Hello, welcome to Fauxropter, a podcast invented by John Dutton and taken over by Bobby Gaucher. That's me. Joining me today is...
John Dutton.
Thank God, I can do it alone.
I feel like I was more like the discoverer of the podcast, not the inventor. And I really feel like we discovered it together. Anyway, what word are we doing today, Bobby? Because this is one that you have brought up.
Today we're going to be doing the word family.
Oh, family.
Mm-hmm. As in, sister sledge.
We are family?
Correct.
All right.
So family seems like an obvious word with an obvious definition, but it gets thrown around a lot and it gets manipulated, I find.
And to be honest with you, I think the definition varies quite a bit.
Well, I think it's a very, vague word. Yes, family means your direct bloodline, but, nuclear family only came up in the 50s and 60s. So aside from a nuclear family, the definition's vague. And now it gets used a lot in terms of work culture.
Right.
That it's just like a family. Also, in terms of your friend family, there's a couple different ways that it gets used that it kind of is used to manipulate your emotions into either working a little bit harder or being nice to people you shouldn't be nice to.
Mm-hmm. I also think there's been a bit of an epidemic of the use of the word family in corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like a real, it's taken over. And it's not, as somebody who works in a corporation, it's something we try kind of not to say it because it does imply a whole bunch of things that just aren't true. You can be a little community, you can have your culture, but you ain't no family.
Exactly. And the way I look at family are people that you should be doing anything for. I agree, but it's your actual family. There's a reason we have words for different things.
Yeah, because doesn't it denigrate your real family? If
exactly.
Once everybody's family, nobody's family, right?
Denigrates your bloodline.
There you go.
And blood's thicker than water.
That's true. Wait, is that true? We'll have to look that up after,
yeah.
But anyway.
We'll do some research. But so whenever people use the word family to talk about something that's not familiar, I just find it to be a really manipulative word to get people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And my best example of this is the Fast and Furious franchise.
Oh.
That movie uses the term family to discuss a group of criminals nonstop. And I think that's been on now for 15 years. And over those 15 years, the phrase gets stronger and stronger. And Vin Diesel continuously says, I'll do anything for family, even if they don't do anything for you. But that's not a family.
Mm.
I understand the concept of creating your own community, creating your own group of support. However, using family isn't appropriate.
Are you saying that Vin Diesel uses that concept and that word to vindicate certain actions that he takes in these movies that I've never actually watched?
Oh, don't watch them. Yeah. Okay. And it's the same with corporations. Walmart had a big stint for a while where it was a big family. And it wasn't a big family because a big family would give you benefits and allow you to make a union.
Yeah, and if anything, a union's actually more like a family. I'm not saying it is one, but...
Because it's a union. Mm-hmm. It unites people. So I think there's been such a disuse of the word that it's become very murky, where I think the definition's pretty clear. And even nuclear family is the beginning of that disintegration of family.
And there's a whole other aspect that just occurred to me that is relatively recent, which is people do all those genetic tests to find out their super extended family. Or
their family that they didn't know about for a reason.
Yeah, you discover that your sister's not your sister or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So I really think family has to do with your parental unit, whatever that is, and then your people around you and cousins to an extent. But I don't think it has to be this massive giant thing. Irish families are a very big thing, and they're very large, and there's a lot of people to them. And if that's what family means to you, that's great. But I don't think it has to mean that your cousin's sister's boyfriend's daughter is also part of your family.
Right. And obviously you brought up Irish, could be Italian, could be all kinds of different cultures where family means something maybe bigger than Anglo-Saxon culture, defines it. But I guess that any culture has the right to define it how they want to. And that's part of being in a specific culture, is how you define family must be a huge part of that, right?
Look at Tony Soprano and his definition of family.
Right. Familia.
So is that a great definition of family? Not so much. It's very Vin Diesel-esque.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Because we started off talking about corporations, but when you look at like the evil, flip side of that is...
I don't think we should be calling mobs evil.
Mobs, mafia, not so evil? Okay.
There's bad connotations, but are they evil?
Okay. Nasty criminals?
Yeah.
The thing is, right, the mafia use of the word family predates the corporate use of the word family, but for a similar kind of reason. You're trying to get people to, sort of commit to you and be devoted to you, even when it might go against your interests.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's the root of what I'm trying to say, is that I find family to be a kind of war call at times, that you use it to manipulate people to be so devout to you that whatever you ask, well, I guess I have to do.
So it's been weaponized, in other words.
Mm-hmm. And it started being weaponized as soon as nuclear became part of the definition.
Oh, really?
That's what I would say.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we'd have to actually do real research that we never do to find out whether it was the mafia thing was earlier than that or not. But you might be right.
Well, mafias didn't actually exist until the 1960s.
Right, because nobody could actually prove it.
And if you can't prove that a family's there,
And so I'm just curious to know what you think about people who are unfortunate enough to not have any blood relations, like true orphans, let's say. Are they allowed to somehow, surely they're part, you can be adopted and be part of a family.
Yeah. And also I truly believe you can create your own family. But I just think anytime that you use family to reflect something that isn't your like direct partners and or children, it loosens the term a little bit so that other people can grab it and use it to manipulate people like orphans or people who don't have very much family into doing things that they wouldn't normally do. Like another good example is the Crips. They are a gang who use uncle and cousin as their kind of like love term for one another. And it's interesting that like when you have to kind of manipulate a word like that, like Snoop Dogg uses cuz all the time. But why do you have to be calling somebody who is a friend or a fellow member of your gang, which we have words for those, but now you're using familiar terms so that they feel a little bit more pressure to be.
Yes, and you know what? There's another very frequent example of this is the word bro and tech bros and crypto bros is a thing, right? So it's a way to maybe try and like manipulate other young men into doing what you want or what the gang wants to do, let's say, right? Because you're a bro. Well, if you're the bro, then you kind of have less choice, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that it started in a negative sense, but I think that people with power and people with sway use it negatively. Like, bro comes from brother, and that comes from the 1960s and revolutions. And by calling somebody your brother, it does give you a sense of unity, but I think it's misused. And
in fact, yes, even before, in the First World War, there was like brothers in arms, or maybe other wars. But
which, that's another great example of like, you have to go for war for your country, and your country is your family.
Right.
So you're going to war with your brothers. But again, it's a giant like authority manipulating you into doing something that you wouldn't normally do, i.e. kill people. And they go one step further than that, which is the real definition of family should be something you can't like get out of, because it's your family. Like you can't born into it. You can't fire your sister or your brother. You can't, yes, you can do legal stuff to like divorce from your parents or something, but basically, that your family's your family, you're stuck in it, right? So, of course, in the First World War, for example, if you deserted, you would get shot, because they actually took that to, its full extent, where you were not allowed to leave, just like a family. So it's pretty bad. Yeah, and the use of propaganda to get you to feel part of a family, the best example is Uncle Sam. Yeah. Why does it have to be an uncle? Yeah. Or, got another one, the Holy Father. Oh. He's a rough one. Or even a Mother Superior. Or a father at a church. Yeah, exactly. Father whoever, the priest.
So these terms are used probably by people in authority, in power, very consciously, or they were at the beginning.
That's what is concerning to me, is the consciousness of using one of these words. Because bro is one that I would argue isn't so negative because you use it so much and it's so natural now that I don't think it's used in a terrible way. However, the beginning would be brother, and that was used very consciously.
Right, and you were right. Like it was, but even in terms of the revolutionary sense, let's just say, rise up, brothers, or something, whatever it would be, right? It's still kind of manipulating people all the same. Even if you thought the cause was good, there's still something to that.
I think I have a pretty good example of how you can get out of family, though. Because if you think about Star Wars, I'm going to call him Anakin Skywalker. You may know him as Darth Vader. But he tries to manipulate Luke out of killing him by saying, I am your father. And that might be one way that he didn't really raise him as his son. So is he really family?
Right. He kind of used the family shackles, as it were, or tried to.
It was a good effort.
Yeah, that's a good example. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about family? The word family. We're not talking about families. We're not talking about all of the crazy stuff that goes on in families, right?
No, because that would be a whole different podcast. We'd have plenty to say.
I'm sure that podcast exists.
No, I would just say be conscious about using familiar terms. Because who is your family?
Yeah, it's true that it's great that people be aware of misusing the word family and its related terms like bro, father, whatever it may be. Because if people are conscious of it, they might be a bit conscious of being manipulated.
The only word that we didn't really touch is daddy. So you should be very conscious of how you use words. Because I know it makes me uncomfortable when I hear young women call their boyfriends daddy.
And I did not know that happened.
Yeah.
It sounds very, very icky.
Well, it's definitely a term that people enjoy using. Like, there's been a real upswing in it lately. Even to the point that there's different variations of it. Like, there's zaddy and there's a whole bunch of them. And it's a very strange thing to me because, like, I grew up calling my dad daddy, and I would never want to call somebody else that. It seems icky.
It seems more than icky. I can't think of a word more than icky, but like icky squared.
Well, on icky squared.
Let's leave it there then. Yeah, people can do their own research about that icky subject.
I feel like you should be careful when you're Googling things about daddy.
Yes, people should be careful. And as a daddy of a 14-year-old girl, this makes me not super comfortable. So thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this, everybody.
I hope that you call your family and tell them that you like them.
Yeah, or even more. Love them. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe. It could happen.
Or you know what? Pick up the phone and call them and be like, I don't like you. Let's discuss that.
Or tell people that call you family, that aren't in your family, be like, nah, I'm sorry, no.
Or call people who feel like family to you and aren't in your family and say, you feel like family.
Right.
Not Vin Diesel, you are my family.
Exactly. You're like family to me is great. That's a lovely compliment, right?
Oh, I would love to get that compliment.
Right. Well, maybe next week. So, all right. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions.
Or if you want to call John Daddy,
No.
reach out to the email.
No. Send us an email, fauxropter@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.